So we've been talking about defunding the police.
There's some issues that we ask police to do, like mental health issues or policing in schools and all the rest, that perhaps we can shuffle some of that money around.
Suck it up. Defunding the police has to happen. We need to defund the police.
Mayor Eric Garcetti saying, take some of the money from policing, about $150 million.
I applaud Eric Garcetti for doing what he's done.
Not only do we need to disinvest in police, but we need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department.
So yes, defund your butts. Defund you.
Yes, I support the reallocation of resources from NYPD.
We will be moving funding from the NYPD to youth initiatives and social services.
They are talking about reducing the allocation of resources to that department. And I think every single city in this country ought to be thinking about the same thing.
Yes, I support the defund movement. I'm for responsible reallocation of resources.
And defund the police.
I think you do all those other things, you don't need all the money that's going to the police department. So yeah, I mean, the spirit of it, I do support that.
Yeah, and a lot of us were asked if we could imagine a future without police back in 2017 when we were running for office. And I answered yes to that question.
We are going to reduce funding in the police department and redirect that money.
There's no reason the police budget should just keep growing and growing and growing. They can make sensible cuts to policing.
We propose to redirect over $7 million from the police bureau.
That our city, through our city administrative officer, identified $250 million in cuts.
Rashida Tlaib tweeting, no more policing, incarceration, and militarization. It can't be reformed.
When they're saying defund the police, what are they saying? They're saying we want fundamental, basic change when it comes to policing. And they're right.
We are reallocating.
So now I want to take us to Canada, which is another nation, which clearly they have now instituted wickedness by law, and you're seeing it being instituted by law in Canada. Because sometimes we need to leave the country to get a juxtaposition as opposed to what's going on within our country. And it's important that we do these little juxtapositions so you can have a greater level of appreciation for the rules, rights of the Constitution that you have. There have been these home invasions, and the government inside of Canada is telling people, hey, the reason why you're dying in your home invasion is because you're not surrendering to that wicked person. And they are enabling these criminals to do home invasions. Now, I want to be clear with you. We already know what these criminals look like. We already know where these criminals come from. So it's clear the problem that Canada has. And that problem ain't black folks from Compton or black folks from Chicago. Their problem is the people that they brought into their nation. And those people that they brought into their nation have successfully divided their nation. And so now the cities are paying the price because of what the leadership has done. And remember, they had Justin Trudeau, and then they brought in Mark Carney to be the leader in their nation. And so when you kind of look at what America's future could be like, you look around the world and you see, well, we could be like Europe. We could be like France. We could be like Canada. We could be like Venezuela. We could be like any nation south of our borders. The difference in this nation, quite frankly, in all these nations, is that there was a covenant made long ago with God, and God keeps his covenants even when men don't. Sidebar, a secret that I'll share with you is if you want to be successful with anything in your life, then you need to go hash out an agreement with the Lord and get him to come into agreement with this thing that you're trying to do to be successful at. I had a conversation with a YouTuber, and I tried to explain this to him, and it kind of went over his head. And I said, hey, you're seeking to be influential and have influence, but I'm going to give you a shortcut. If you really want to grow in anything, then don't spend time chasing men. Spend time chasing after the Lord to figure out what he would want in what you're doing. What he wants and how it can benefit him. And if you can figure out what he wants and how you can get in line with what benefits him, and then say, hey, well, listen, you want to reach these people over here with the gospel, then how about I target this and do this. But before I go do that, you make sure I understand what I'm doing, because I don't know what I'm doing. And then you're going to go through the process with him. And sometimes it may be a month, sometimes maybe 3 months, sometimes it may be 3 years, depending on what he wants to do with you. Then when you start doing it, nobody can stop you, because he endorsed it. So you can't fail. Failure always happens when you don't have a partnership with spirit. It just is what it is. It's why all the rappers and the ball players, and you be like, man, they sold themselves to a spirit, blah, 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 because they know that you don't get to certain levels of success without a partnership with a spirit. That it just is what it is. But this is really hardcore stuff I'm explaining to you. Some of you get it, some of you won't get it. I don't know, but I'm just explaining to you. The spirit that I partner with, his name is Ruach Elohim. He is the Holy Spirit. He's a part of the Godhead. That's my homie. You know what I'm saying? Pause before I go any further. Somebody be like, well, the Elohim are the tall whites. Shut your dumb ass up.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in Vaughan, Ontario. And you know, folks, if you had to put a slug on this story, it would be not again.
See, I just got in trouble for calling you a dummy. I'm sorry. You're not a dumb. You're not. You ignorant. I think that's you ignorant. Okay. Before I get in trouble.
That's because 46-year-old father Abdul Faruqi is dead. Why is he dead? Well, he's dead because he acted as a father, protecting his 4-year-old daughter from a home invader who was armed with lethal force. Here is the news release from the York Regional Police. Quote, on Sunday, August 31st, 2025, shortly before 1 a.m., officers attended a residence in the area of Andreda Drive and Barron Street for a report of a home invasion. On arrival, a male was located inside the house, suffering from trauma to his body. Despite life-saving efforts, he was pronounced deceased at the scene. This is disturbing on so many levels. This neighborhood in Vaughan, it's a new build. It looks like what Pierre Poilievre calls a piece of the Canadian promise. You see nice houses with driveways, with cars in the driveway, a lawn out front and out back. It's very serene, and yet in the wee hours of the morning, yet again, another home is invaded with tragic consequences. And the last few weeks, folks, it's been a bloodbath out there in Ontario, hasn't it? How about the elderly Jewish woman who was almost knifed to death at an Ottawa supermarket? How about a transgender, Danny Senecal, allegedly, who broke into a Welland home and sexually assaulted a toddler? By the way, why don't we stop sugarcoating? It was rape of a toddler. And by the way, the transgender part is no longer being reported in mainstream media. That's another story, and we'll have that story for you later this week when we go to Welland. How about 8-year-old Javai Roy? He was the Toronto boy, asleep in his bedroom when a stray bullet from a gangbanger hit him in the head and killed him. And then there, of course, there's Jeremy McDonald. He is the person who in Lindsay, in the wee hours of the morning, 3:20 a.m. to be precise, had a reprobate by the name of Mike Breen show up. Allegedly. Armed with a lethal force weapon, a crossbow, no less. And, Jeremy McDonald, for having the temerity to defend himself, he's now facing 2 charges: aggravated assault and assault with a weapon. And that speaks to the bigger problem, these home invasions, doesn't it? The fact that under our so-called castle law, there are so many conditions and provisions that make the full use of defense, well, basically impossible. Remember how last week...
Now, I'm going to stop right there because if I'm not mistaken, it just was brought back to my memory that Rebel News is one of those people that like to copyright every damn thing. And the last time I did them, they did some copyright, try to do a copyright strike. But the point I'm trying to make to you is there's different spirits that rule territories. And this territory is not ruled by the spirit of liberty and the spirit of freedom. Hence, you hear these type of stories where their hands are tied in defending themselves from home invaders, home intruders, and you see this stuff going crazy all over the place. Now, don't get me wrong. There's crime there like there's crime in America. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be crime. The issue that we face in America is we have the liberties and the freedoms to defend ourselves, but we have people and politicians who are trying to make us like them. They're trying to remake our nation in the image of other nations. And unfortunately, we have ignorant people, because I said the DA word earlier and I really got in trouble for it, but we have ignorant people who do not understand these concepts. In fact, they're short-sighted, short-minded, ignorant. I think that's the nicest way to put it, so I won't get in trouble. Ignorant people who don't understand because they never went anywhere. They never traveled anywhere. They never turn on the news. All they do is turn on and get a clip from CNN or MSNBC, and then they make up their mind until violence strikes them, like this woman. And to be clear with you, I can't just play the video because YouTube will say, oh, you're promoting violence, copyright strike, community guideline strike. So I'll just hit a still for you. This is someone walking up the street. This is the man with the rope. This is him moving the rope. This is him putting it around her neck. And you can imagine what happens next after that. You can only imagine what happens after someone lassos a woman around the neck. Right? I don't have to show you what happens after a masked man lassos a woman around the neck. Why else would you lasso a woman like a damn a piece of meat, like a cattle, like a cow, like a bull? Why would you lasso her? But this is the problem with liberals. It's always that way until it hits home. I'll give you another example. Remember, in California, it's this whole thing about they're protesting ICE, and they go into the hood near the ICE facility, and they protesting ICE, and then the Antifa that they all supported, the things that they all voted for, it comes to full manifestation. Hold on, let me show it to you. And then people want to complain. Don't complain. You vote for this kind of thing. Now, to get you up to speed, I got to take you over here to Fox News, and I want you to watch this.
Anti-ICE protesters in Portland, Oregon, rolling out a guillotine, clashing with police and turning the streets into a battlefield outside a migrant detention facility there. It's the latest flashpoint in protests that has stretched nearly 3 months now. A Democrat mayor, Keith Wilson, stands firm on keeping Portland a migrant sanctuary city. Our correspondent Dan Springer has that story for us.
Now, that's what they voted for, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this thing. Look at that damn thing they voted for. Look at that. Look at it. That's who they voted for. Tell me that looked like a normal human being. Somebody tell me that looked like a normal human being. I don't see nothing normal about that thing. But that's who they voted for. That's who the ruler of their territory is. And I can tell you what I see, but you tell me what you see when you look at him. You tell me what you see him doing in the night in dark rooms. You tell me what you see. I tell you what I see. But then it'll be a problem on YouTube. So you tell me in the comments what you see. So now we understand who the ruler of the territory is. But the thing that gets me is this same little area where all this is happening is a minority area. It's where all the not even just minorities, where all the impoverished people live. It's where all the people who are most vulnerable, who need government assistance, live. These were the people who need the police live. But watch what happens next. Hold on.
Our correspondent Dan Springer has that story for us. So Dan, are we expecting more unrest?
Every night it happens, Sandra, and this is happening just outside of an ICE facility with hundreds of Portland residents living in apartments right across the street, and Portland police will not engage out of some fear that it will be perceived as helping ICE in violation of the sanctuary law. And what makes this even more frustrating for residents is that Portland police won't respond to noise complaints or even when assaults are witnessed.
I'm calling about the protesters. They've cornered 2 women out here. They need help. They cornered them. Please send the cops.
Portland police have not made a single arrest since June 18th, despite a number of assaults. A protester hit one resident with a megaphone, then a fist. Despite the injuries, no arrest. One resident sued the city to force cops to enforce the laws, and this was uncovered during discovery. One officer telling another on the police radio, quote, "If it were not ICE, we could assist directly."
This is a full-on abdication of police duty in a 4-block radius that impacts some of the most vulnerable Oregonians that we have. Now they've said, meh, we're just going to let violent rioters do this for 80 straight nights, and we don't care.
I don't need to say nothing else. You voted yourself into this system underneath that man, and you have the curse for what you voted for. You did it. And this is what was supposed to be going on throughout all these blue cities. This is what you probably going to see them try and do in Chicago. Now, the people that are out here doing are Antifa. And Antifa is protected while they do this. That's why the police don't come up and pull up out there and do nothing about them. Who is that? That's why the police don't pull up and do nothing about them. Because they're protecting them. But you voted for it. Remember, defund the police. You came into agreement with these wicked people through their witchcraft. Black Lives Matter, defund the police, defund the police. And who out there screaming? A black woman. We need sleep. Of course you need sleep, Trick, but you voted for it. This is why you cannot come into agreement with these wicked people. I'm done. Next video.